everyone. My name is Kristen Solomon, and I'm the Director of Operations for the Guardian Ad Litem program. And today, we're here to recognize leaders for their compassion, leadership, and commitment to children's issues as this year's 2020 Children's Champions. I'm joined by Alan Abramowitz, Executive Director of the statewide Guardian Ad Litem program, Secretary Chad Popple, Secretary of the Department of Children and Families, and Matthew Dietz, Chairman of the Animal Law Section of the Florida Bar. This is the first time that these three organizations and groups have come together to recognize legislators for their policy actions and just their overall support for issues. And today we're here for their commitment to children and animals. Alan Abramowitz, as I stated, is the Executive Director of the statewide Guardian Ad Litem program. And the statewide Guardian Ad Litem program represents the independent legal interests of children in dependency and termination of parental rights proceedings, with our focus on what's in the best interest of the child. Today, we're doing our awards in a virtual setting because of COVID-19, and we've had to make some adjustments. And we were hoping to do these awards in person at the Guardian Ad Litem Museum in April, but we've had to make some changes. And one way to do it than joining together from all across the state of Florida to recognize these three individuals. And today I'm excited that we're going to recognize Representative Jason Broder, Senator Bill Montford, and Senator Lauren Book to their commitment to children. And now the Executive Director of the Guardian Ad Litem program will be presenting the 2020 Children's Champion Award to Representative Jason Broder. Alan?
Thank you, Kristen. I appreciate it. And also, congratulations to Senator Montford and Senator Book. The Guardian Ad Litem appreciates all you do for children and families, and we recognize that. It is my honor today, though, to specifically recognize Jason Broder. Jason was the sponsor of Justice's Best Friend Act in the House. This bill was going to expand the use of therapy animals and facility dogs in Florida state courts to reduce trauma for victims and witnesses, including dependency cases which involve child abuse, neglect, and abandonment cases. It also expanded the use of therapy animals and facility dogs for individuals with intellectual disabilities. Now, when we were going to do this award, in looking at the three sponsors, they did so much more than this that we decided to, instead of calling the award Justice Best Friend Award, to go all out and call it the 2020 Children's Champion because of their body of work. And Jason's body of work is very impressive. I want to highlight in particular Ponce's Law, which he sponsored, which created harsher penalties for animal abusers and also for the first time allowed judges to stop animal abusers from owning a pet. He did so many more things for children and families, chairing the Health and Human Services Committee. I recall at the time when I approached him about the bill, he was in a position as chair of the Appropriations Committee that had the largest appropriation dealing with children and families, that at the time, chairs of this most important committee would not carry a bill, but he insisted. He saw the impact it would have on children and families. And he said, I want to do this bill. I want to shepherd it through. And he did. So we do appreciate taking that on. My only commitment was I committed to him after a discussion that we had to have a golden retriever at every committee meeting, and we did. So thank you, Jason, and thank you for all the other things you've done. I could go into a lot of individual ones, but I just want to talk about the people that have recognized you as a champion for children and families and animals. First of all, the Behavioral Health Award was given to you by the Florida Council for Community Mental Health and Florida Alcohol and Drug Abuse. You've been recognized by the Daniel Webster Leadership Award, Healthy Families Florida, which is very important to the Guardian Ad Litem program because that's the state's evidence-based program proven to reduce child abuse so children don't even have to enter the foster care system. But even better, they don't even need that first hotline call. Also, you've been recognized by the Foundation for Government Accountability, the Children's Home Society, and in fact, the Florida Coalition for Children recognized you as Legislator of the Year a few years ago because of all the body of work you did to help children in foster care. This group actually represents all the providers for foster care related services. Also, Legal Aid Society and the Seminole County Bar Association. Everyone has seen what you've done to help children and families. And I'm glad that I'm the one that gets the opportunity to tell you thank you. On behalf of the Guardian Ad Litem program, we love you, we appreciate you, and congratulations. At this time, I would like to have Jason Broder be able to say a few words. And thank you very much. The Guardian Ad Litem program, the Animal Law Section, and DCF love you very much and what you've done for victims of crime and children.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you so much to the organizations presenting the award. This means a great deal to me, and I'll tell you why. My own personal backstory that I don't share a bunch is that I was adopted myself, and very fortunate to get adopted into a loving home. But it really informs your perspective when you get the opportunity to work with vulnerable populations, because at any given time, that could have been me. Had I not gotten into the home I got into, it's entirely possible that I would have been a victim of trauma or a witness to trauma. And there were no protections for certain traumas for those kids. And so as you think about that, you start to think about, well, what if this was me? And what could have made it a little bit more safe for me in the environment of protection? And as we had looked at the law before this law was passed, we recognized that there was some protection for children who had suffered sexual abuse if they could avail themselves in certain circuits to certain animals. And when they did that, even when they did that, some bad guys were getting out on appeal because it was considered to be not a fair trial because of the way the animal was used. They went over to the jury box and they were nice, and it somehow influenced the trial, and they didn't get a fair trial. And so we got together and thought about what is it we can do to help these kids, help the witnesses of these acts, and how can we streamline it so that everyone in the state of Florida feels the same kind of safety and protection. So I think there's a couple of really important tenets that we changed in Florida law. One was that we expanded it for not just be a child victim or witness of a sexual offense, but that it was really anybody with an intellectual disability or a sexual offense victim or witness that was under the age of 18, they also had the protections or the abilities to use one of these facility dogs. And prior to that, facility dogs wasn't a defined animal in statute. And so you had these animals that probably weren't as properly trained to know where to go and how not to interact with the jury and how not to influence the outcome of a trial, but really help children find that safe space. There's large clinical trials that show that when children are around animals, they feel safer, they're able to accurately and more confidently recall some of the most traumatic events of their life. And this goes true for witnesses too. You don't have to be the object of a perpetrator in order to be traumatized. You could witness it and be just as traumatized, well, almost as traumatized as the victim. And so we wanted to make sure that not only the victims, but the witnesses could do that, and that we had some equity of standard among all the circuits in Florida. We had some circuits that were doing it pretty well, but it was always at the discretion of the chief judge. And so this was a way so that I personally and selfishly could say, well, what if this had happened to me? What would I have wanted? And what I would have wanted is a giant dog, like Alan said, to come in and be my buddy while I was going through in the same room, likely, as the person that did this to me, to be able to testify. And that's why this bill meant so much to me. And that's why this award means such a great deal to me, because for me, it was very personal. It comes from a personal place. And I look forward to helping Guardian Ad Litem and DCF and the animal section of the Florida Bar for many, many years to come. So thank you all very much. This means a great deal, and I really appreciate it.
Congratulations again, Representative Jason Broder, on being one of our 2020 Children's Champions. I'd like to now introduce Secretary Chad Popple. The mission of the Department of Children and Families is to work in partnership with local communities to protect vulnerable, promote strong and economically self-sufficient families, and advance in family recovery and resiliency. The Department of Children and Families Secretary Chad Popple will be presenting the award to Senator Bill Montford. Secretary Popple.
Hey, thank you so much, Kristen. The work that you and Alan are doing around the state with the Guardian Ad Litem program is truly amazing, and I just want you to know at DCF we value the partnership very much. Speaking of partnership, to be part of this event with Representative Broder and Chair Book, my goodness, what an honor that is. They have been friends to the department and friends to me along the way, and I just want you guys to know how much I appreciate that. It's my honor and a privilege today to announce the next recipient of the 2020 Children's Champion Award to a good friend of mine, a mentor of mine, Senator Bill Montford. He has a distinguished career helping other folks, coming up through the school system and then moving in as an elected official. The work that he has done throughout his lifetime has done nothing but build others up. And so it is a distinct honor of mine today to actually present him a small token of appreciation for the work that he's doing, the work that he did on the legislation that Alan's highlighting today, but really, honestly, just for being a good man and dedicating his life to helping others. I appreciate it. I appreciate you, sir. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your friendship. I know he couldn't be here today to accept it in person, but just know that we are all big, big fans. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Alan. God bless.
Congratulations again, Senator Montford, on being one of our champions for 2020. I'd now like to introduce Matthew Dietz. The Animal Law section takes an active role in informing Florida attorneys and the public on developments, legislative changes, and other relevant issues in animal law. They also conduct research and distribute informational materials regarding animal law. Now I would like to introduce Matthew Dietz, the chair of the Animal Law section of the Florida Bar, to present the award to Senator Lauren Buck.
Thank you so much. As chair of the Animal Law section and as a children and disability rights advocate, it is my distinct pleasure for me to have the honor of presenting the award to Senator Lauren Buck. Senator Buck represents Western Broward County in the 32nd district seat in the Florida Senate since 2016. And she has sponsored more bills than I have the allotted time to describe regarding the health and safety of children and animals. Personally, she's turned her own story into awareness of childhood sex abuse prevention. She has also advocated for elimination of racism and bias in our state and has advocated for child welfare, students with disabilities in public schools, government-sponsored recreation programs, insurance coverage and hearing aids for children, child restraint requirements, and the creation of early childhood court programs. As for animal law, she introduced a bill which prohibited the import, export, and sale of shark fins in the state. She introduced SB 96, which made it a second-degree felony to injure, disable, or kill a police or fire, search and rescue canine or horse, and several bills that did not pass this year that we are very excited about, such as Senate Bill 48, which banned declawing of cats, and introduced Senate Bill 1044, which allowed veterinarians to report animal cruelty without fear of liability. However, this award today is specifically focused on SB 416, Justice's Best Friend Act, as well as the whole body of wonderful work that Senator Buck has done in the Senate. Justice's Best Friend Act permits facility dogs and therapy animals to appear in court proceedings or judicial proceedings to calm victims and witnesses, specifically children and persons with intellectual disabilities, in court cases of abuse, abandonment, and neglect. Since 2017, many courts now in the state of Florida have incorporated dogs in proceedings to assist witnesses and litigants to feel more comfortable during a very traumatic time. And most recently this year, Christie House in Miami have embedded a facility dog named Pedro to assist as child victims of sexual abuse. So it is my honor to present Senator Lauren Buck with the 2020 Children's Champion Award from the Florida Guardian Ad Litem Foundation, the Florida Department of Children and Families, and the Animal Law section of the Florida Bar for her role in protecting Florida's children by her sponsorship of Justice's Best Friend Act.
Thank you so much. This is such an incredible honor for me, and I think that the work that the Guardian Ad Litem does each and every day on the front lines protecting children are true heroes. And so this is something that I hold near and dear to my heart. I've seen firsthand just how courtroom therapy dogs can be a lifeline for victims of crime. And so sponsoring this piece of legislation and others like it to give victims a sense of security and make something that is, particularly for children, completely unfathomable, having to face their scariest piece of life with an animal to help them through that. Anything to make that easier is the most important thing that we can possibly do. And so this is truly an honor for me, truly special. And anytime that you guys see something, I'm ready to go, ready to make a change because it does give so much to these survivors when having to face what was their nightmare. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Senator Book. And, just want to thank Matthew Dietz, Secretary Popple, Animal Law Section. You're loved, Senator Book, by a lot of our volunteers, the animal rights folks, and all the advocates out there. The investigators have to investigate these things, and you've been critical in child advocacy and protecting children. And we really do appreciate what you do with the foundation, the Lawrence Foundation, and thank you very much.
Thank you. And like I said, having been a victim of child sexual abuse myself, and having to go to court and face my abuser, I know the trauma and the re-victimization that can cause a child. And so anytime you guys, the advocates, have something to make it a little easier, I'm ready to go to war to make it happen.
And the great thing is we all know that, and we appreciate it.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today as we celebrate our 2020 Children's Champions. I would now like to show a clip highlighting the Therapy Courthouse Dog Program in Circuit 2 right here in Leon County. Again, we could not have done this without the amazing support of Representative Broder, Senator Monfort, and Senator Book. Thank you all so much, and I hope you enjoy this video about why the Justice's Best Friend Act is so important.
Every single witness that I've ever worked with in my 25 years has dreaded going to trial.
Every eye in the courtroom watches them, and they watch them walk all the way across the courtroom. Everybody in the courtroom is waiting on you to get up there. And I've experienced that. It's an unpleasant feeling.
It's very frightening to adults, but it's even more so for a child.
If you're prosecuting these cases, you've looked in the eyes of a child both when they're terrified and when they finally start feeling comfortable talking to you.
Anything that we can do to make that courtroom more fair, I don't even use the word friendly anymore, to make it child fair, results in the fair administration of justice, and that's what everyone wants in that courtroom.
I'm telling you that with the use of the pet therapy, they're going to be more comfortable talking to you, and as a result, talking to that jury about what happened.
Because what we're trying to do is get the truth out in the courtroom, and we only bring that truth in through witnesses, and so those witnesses need to be effective. So it's a good plan.
People are really uncomfortable with change, but the legal system changes every day. We have laws enacted and changing every day. The way we prosecute and handle ourselves in the courtroom has changed dramatically in the last decade. How we take care of our victims and our vulnerable witnesses in the courtroom has changed dramatically. So we need to change the way we do business, and this is the next step.
At first I was saying, we don't need dogs in the courtroom.
They came to me with the idea, and I said, well, I want to hear some ground rules.
I said, well, let's think about this and see how it's going to work.
You think about it, and it kind of evolved, and it got to be a better and better idea.
They came back to me with a plan of how it would be done. I approved the plan, and it went flawlessly by that plan. And I think it was good for certainly helpful for the child, but it didn't in any way distract or impede or obstruct our court proceedings.
We're the ones that have to make sure that there's a level playing field, and everything has to be fair to everyone. And so I was unsure as to how that worked, but I don't have any hesitancy about it anymore. It works well.
When I recognized it wasn't just a warm and fuzzy experience for people, that there's hard science behind pet therapy. And that hard science is what's going to get me better information. And if we're looking for better outcomes, we need better information. And the pet therapy gets me good information.
All our teams are screened initially just to make sure they have the correct aptitude and temperament to do this kind of work. Then they go through a workshop, they do through training classes, a formal evaluation. Then they also have to make visits and get on-the-job training.
They will come in with the knowledge through the training that they have received that will aid that judge in putting together the right atmosphere so that it's fair to everyone.
As therapy teams, we had to learn more about court procedures and how to work within the courts, and the court folks had to learn more about what the potential of the therapy teams would be and how they might be able to help and not get in the way.
We've drafted protocols. We have procedures that differ by county depending on their particular needs, like certain entrances they want them to use, certain elevators, walkways, areas of access. We've developed oaths of confidentiality.
The dogs I send to this program, and the only ones I'll send into the courtroom, have been proven. They have proven track records. They're calm, they're quiet, they're very manageable, and they like to be around people.
People's concerns have been, on the one level, are these dogs going to be okay in public? But the main thing they want to know about, are these dogs going to be solid for these kids? Are they going to be there for the kids? And are they not going to be disruptive to the process? And in every case that we've had, and we've been doing this for years and years now, that's been the story.
The first prosecutions ever done, long before we had DNA, CSI, any of the scientific forensic arts, it always started with the testimony of one witness and another.
If the witnesses, the complaining victim, are uncomfortable or afraid, they're not going to be able to share their story.
I've seen these children go from just sitting there like looking at me to being able to talk and smile and, be able to interact with us. And then we have to try to, in steps, transfer that to them being able to interact with us on the stand and answer our questions. And it's been invaluable in that.
It helps the relationship with the prosecutor, helps the relationship with me, and it helps that child to be able to trust us.
This does not make things worse. This simply allows your 8-year-old to be able to, or your 4-year-old, to be able to speak like a 24-year-old because they are in a comfortable spot.
I did have a case a couple years ago. I remember we brought the dog in for the deposition, and this was a very tiny child. The dog basically sat there on the ground, and the child, as she talked about the horrific things that this individual had done to her, just pet the dog. And I just remember her petting him, and she did an excellent job in the deposition.
For an hour and a half, this defense attorney was grilling this young girl. And I was under the table with my therapy dog, keeping my dog calm while she had her head in this little girl's lap for an hour and a half, and the little girl had her arms wrapped around my therapy dog's head for an hour and a half, sometimes squeezing it a little harder than others, but it enabled her to get through this deposition.
We also had the dog later come to the trial, and this particular individual was convicted of capital sexual battery on a child less than 12 and is serving the rest of his life in prison. So that was a case where I feel like the dog was instrumental.
A prosecutor who embraces this program shows not only their dedication to their job and doing the best that they can for the case, but also for their complaining victim. And that is a dual balance that prosecutors have, is to seek the truth, but to also caretake for the victim.
If we're able to do this thing that's really able to help our victims out, and we're not creating issues, and there's case law now that says that this doesn't affect a defendant's due process rights, it doesn't affect their right to confront the accuser, I'm totally for it. I mean, I think it's something that if you're able to do, you really should look into, getting involved in one of these programs.
Give it an opportunity, and I think that they will find that in the first instant they'll say, okay, I have no problems, no concerns about this. It's a positive.
Is the therapy animal going to make the child tell an untruth, or going to make the child free to tell the truth? And I don't think the dog will coach a child to lie. So I think it will be a good thing, and I think it will catch on big time all over the country. And a prosecutor will be very negligent if they don't utilize every tool that's available to get the truth to the people that get to decide the truth, which is the jury.